Hey guys, it's your boy, Magician, back at you with a low effort video actually. I won't be very editing heavy on this one like the other videos, and it's kind of a response video. So there's this other content creator called NovaSeiken, maybe you've heard of him. Seems like a cool guy. He mainly does Tekken videos, right? Things like guides or sometimes critiques of aspects of Tekken he doesn't like, especially the most recent ones. And sometimes he himself responds to other content creators who talk about Tekken and or his main, Jin, right? In his latest video, it's actually on that very topic. He discusses the reactability of Jin's lows. He takes clips of what Main Man has said about Jin's lows and he talks about them, he analyzes them, and he gives his thought about the reactability of these moves. Are they seeable? Are they unseeable? Right? Unfortunately, I don't agree with most of what he has to say about these moves and how realistically you can react to them, and I will be giving my 2 cents about this topic. Also, I won't be talking about the dynamics of these two content creators, Nova and Main Man. I am here to talk about facts and numbers only, and as such I won't be delving into anything other than that very topic, the reactability of Jin's lows, at least until I'm done with that subject, and then I'm going to yap a bit later about different things, right? So let's get into it. So to summarize the ideas of that video, the video that I'm going to kind of respond to as quickly as possible, here's the main points of it. We're going to talk about 4 lows, Jin's down back 4, down 2, Zen 1 plus 2, and CD4, although this last one is going to be analyzed in tandem with forward forward 3, since the question here is if it's a true 50-50 wave dash mix-up, or if you can react to both the mid and the low and block accordingly, right? A quick rundown of it is for down back 4, Main Man says that it is not reactable, right? Except by the best players in the world ever. Nova says that some people cannot react to it, but other people absolutely can. You don't necessarily need to reach that level of being the best ever to react to down back 4, and he uses himself as an example. For down 2, Main Man says that it is kind of reactable.
99% of players, even pros, would eat that and not block it on reaction.
But here, Nova says that down 2 is clearly reactable, and if you are not ducking down 2, it is a skill issue basically. Everyone should block down 2.
Now, when it comes to down 2, and Zen 1 plus 2 in particular, there's no excuse. These moves give you everything you need for you to have a good reaction rate against them.
That's what he says about it, at least. For Zen 1 plus 2, and this is one of Main Man's most retarded takes I have ever heard in a long time, he says that Zen 1 plus 2 is unreactable and you can mix it up with his other Zen mids, so Zen 1 plus 2 or the Zen dive kick. Nova says the complete opposite, thankfully. He says that it is very much reactable and you have to react to it 10 times out of 10 on a good day, talking about Zen 1 plus 2, right? If you do get hit by it, rather, it is a skill issue completely. And finally, for the wave dash mix-up, CD4 and forward forward 3, Main Man says that it is a true 50-50, you have to guess between the hot sweep and the forward forward 3. But Nova says that it is not a mix-up and you can react to the low and block it, or react to the mid and block it too. It is not a true mix-up. And if you are getting hit by these moves, if you are getting hit by this mix-up, it is a skill issue too. So that's it. That's about it for the rundown of the video that I'm going to react to, or respond to at least. Now for my 2 cents on each of these lows. For down back 4, it is not reactable in any meaningful way, really. Even the best players ever in the world cannot react to down back 4 practically in a real match setting. And if you are still adamant about saying that down back 4 is reactable, you would have to stretch the definition of the word seeable or reactable to its utmost limits. Only then can you kind of call down back 4 reactable, right? So down back 4 is not reactable by anyone really. Well, there's like an exception to that, like to the rule, and it's not the best Tekken players in the world. It is something else actually that I'm going to go over in detail later. But for now, Jin down back 4 is not reactable. For down 2, I believe it is only kind of reactable. It is in that cusp between like reactable and not reactable, although it's leaning more towards reactable really. So it is going to hit people a lot of the time. And that's about it for down 2. For Zen 1 plus 2 actually, I would say that it is reasonably reactable, just not to the extent that Nova tries to paint it as, like snake edge levels of reactable. Of course, it is not fast enough to the point that you can mix it up with his others in mids like Main Man said, which is again a retarded take, but it will hit people at all levels of play, even the highest one really. And finally, for the Hell Sweep, and by extension for 3, it is not a reactable mix-up. It is a true 50-50, practically, in a real match. As we're going to see later, we are going to see all of these points later in detail. You may be asking yourself, what is my basis? What are my arguments for what I'm saying? And to that I will say nothing but numbers. My thought process here was that, like, if these moves are reactable or unreactable, we should be able to see this in a match setting, in a tournament match setting, since it's the pros playing for money. And not just the pros, I'm not just talking about pros, I'm talking about the highest level of Tekken, like the players that dominate tournaments when we watch them. And they should demonstrate a very high level of reaction speeds. If they can react to it, then it's reactable. If they cannot, then it is not reactable. Like, they're the barometer for reactability, in my opinion. So that's my thought process. And as such, I went to watch competitive Jin players. I started with CBM, but the funny thing about CBM is that he uses basically no low other than down 4, which is already a compelling argument for the people who say that Jin's lows are reactable. If CBM doesn't use down back 4, down 2, Zen 1 plus 2 and Hell Sweep, then obviously he might be scared of them getting blocked and punished or reacted to, right? And that's a fair argument, I'll give it to you. But a counter example to that, or a counter argument to that rather, would be Raif. When I saw that CBM doesn't do any lows other than down 4, I went to watch Raif, and wouldn't you know it, he regularly uses his other lows, like all of them. So I watched 6 tournament sets, right? 6 of them. One against each of Anakin, Ni, Atif, and Lohai, and 2 sets against Arslan. That makes up for 6 tournament sets, so 5 players, 6 sets, and I have compiled every instance of him doing each of these lows, and here are my results. For down back 4, in total, Raif used it 33 times, and out of those 33 times, down back 4 hit 28 times. This means that it was only blocked 5 times out of all those tries. And as such, down back 4 here has a block rate of 15%. That is less than like 2 times out of 10. I don't know if you can consider that reactable, but I do not consider a low that was ducked less than 2 times out of 10 reactable. Please keep in mind, there is one instance of a no contest on one of the down back 4s, as you can see. Arslan ducked it on frame 7, which obviously means that he didn't really react to it as much as it was a hard read, and then he ducked it. So I didn't count it here. But for my observation, right, if Raif used down back 4 a whopping 33 times, then needless to say, he's not scared of it getting reacted to. He uses it as an unseeable low, as I believe it is. And even this is the highest level of play. Look at the players he's using this against. Arslan, Ni, Atif, Lohai, Anakin, what are you thinking? It's unreactable. So that's it about down back 4. A 15% block rate between 2 times out of 10 and 1 time out of 10 in tournaments, which I consider, of course, to be not reactable at all. For the next low, which is down 2, Raif has done this move 13 times in the sets that I've watched, and it has landed a whopping 11 times out of those 13. That is also a 15% block rate. This means that proportionally speaking, down 2 was blocked as many times as down back 4, right? Which is crazy. Now, one possible counter argument to this would be that down 2 was used way less, and I am willing to indulge in that counter argument. It was used a bit more than the third of the times down back 4 has been used. But, however, when we say that a low is reactable, and it is a skill issue if you do not react to it, not my words, it's NovaSeiken's word. He said that it's a skill issue if you do not duck down 2. I wholeheartedly believe that you need to have at the very least, like a 5 out of 10 block rate for that low. At least, like you should block it half of the time. But obviously, the pros didn't even reach a 20% block rate on down 2. They didn't even block it like at least 2 times out of 10. That is very far from the 5 out of 10 times standard that I am setting for a reactable low, let alone like the kind of it's a skill issue if you do not block it. But that's it about down 2 really. It surprised me how many times it hit, given how many times these pros say that down 2 is reactable. So they say that it's reactable, but obviously going by the gameplay, it's not as reactable as they think it is. And for the third low, which is Zen 1 plus 2, Raif did this move a total of 6 times, which is admittedly rather kinda low, right? And it hit 2 times out of those 6 tries. So this means that Zen 1 plus 2 in these tournament sets has a block rate of 66 or 67% rather, which is notably higher than the 15% of both down 2 and down back 4. But here's the thing about this move. Nova in his video said that you should react to it at least 7 out of 10 times on a bad day and 10 out of 10 times on a good day. Now these matches that I have watched have pros playing in them. These people are competing at this game for thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the cash prize and their sponsors' salaries or whatever, right? I don't know how they get paid accurately, but whatever. Alas, these players, and these are the best players, not just any pros, they are the best players we have right now, and some of them are contenders to be the greatest to ever do it at Tekken, like ever. Alas, like in these tournament sets, they only react to Zen 1 plus 2 2/3 of the time, not even 67%, which is lower than the lower end of the bracket that NovaSeiken imposed on Zen 1 plus 2. He said that you should block it at least, at the very least, if you are having a bad day, 7 times out of 10. The pros have failed to reach even the lowest, the lower end of NovaSeiken's interval. And as such, like, I don't know if you can really call it reactable, or at least not as reactable as he makes it out to be. Now, please note that like they are not getting hit by Zen 1 plus 2 after like forward 4 or back forward 2-3 in the Zen transitions. No, they are getting hit by it from Zanshin, 5 frames of CDS into Zen 1 plus 2, which leads us to the conclusion that no, of course, you cannot mix Zen 1 plus 2 with his other Zen mids, as Mainman has said, which is again very stupid. And as such, like, you can actually catch people, your opponents rather, off guard from standing, by being standing, and going into CDS directly into Zen 1 plus 2. And so it is not a skill issue if you do not block it every time. But it is kind of weird if you don't block it at all, because admittedly there are cues that signal when it's coming, like when it's going to hit you. But expecting people to treat this the same way as Snake Edge and telling people that it is a skill issue if you do not block it is completely wrong, as even the pros that are like making a living out of this game are getting hit by it. So this is my opinion on Zen 1 plus 2, which of course contradicts both the main man and NovaSeiken's views on this low. And finally, the last low, or the last situation rather I should say, we have to talk about is the Hell Sweep and forward 3 wave dash mix-up, right? Mainman says that it is a true 50-50 that you cannot react to, while Nova says that it is not. You can actually react to each of the options, both the mid and the low, and block accordingly. And as such, it is not a 50-50. Now, Raif has imposed this situation, a 50-50 situation, for a total of 13 times, and he has landed a move out of wave dash 7 times out of those 13 situations. This makes it so that the block rate, the successful block rate on a wave dash instance, was 46%, which seems like a lot. That is almost 5 times out of 10. It seems like a really good block rate. Until you realize that if you treat it as a 50-50, of course it's going to be near the 50% block percentage. The closer it is to a 50% block rate, the more indicative it is that it is a true ambiguous mix-up and you cannot react to the option that is thrown at you. If it's way higher than 50% or even close to 100%, I'm talking about the block rate here, we can deduce that it is not a true 50-50 mix-up. The opponent is blocking correctly way more than half of the time, and as such they are reacting to it. If it were close to 100% rather, or even more than 50%, I would have given it to Nova, right? They are reacting to it some of the time or most of the time. Likewise, if they are getting hit by it way less than 50% or even getting close to a 0% block rate, we can deduce that there is something wrong here. Either the attacker is literally in the opponent's head and that's why they're guessing right so many times in a row, or the situation is so devastating for the defender that they are not really guessing. They are just taking the option that is least damaging, kind of like with Lady as Heaven and Earth, high unblockable, or kind of like throw loops in SF6, if you know about it, right? And yeah, but since the block ratio on the 50-50 mix-up is close to 50%, which is 46%, we can deduce that this situation is a true 50-50 where the defender is not using their reactions at all. If there were any type of reaction at play here, it would have helped the block rate. We would have seen something higher than a 50% block rate. But we haven't, since Jin's Wave Dash mix-up is a true 50-50 at all levels of play, as we are seeing right here, including like all levels of play. Jin's 50-50 Wave Dash mix-up is a true 50-50. You cannot react to the options and block accordingly. We're officially finished with the numbers and the statistics and the block percentages for each low. And of course, this is my own interpretation of these numbers. You can draw your own conclusions, like from these numbers that I've provided. And if they are somehow different from mine, really, and I mean this, I would sincerely like to know your thought process, because in my opinion, it's going to take a lot of mental gymnastics to argue that a low with a 15% block rate is so slow that you're just bad at the game if you don't block it. So here are the numbers if you want to run your own math or if you want to make sure of something, and here are the matches that I took this data from in case you want to make sure that I got the count right, if you want to. Now, to address the things that don't have much to do with numbers, I said that down back 4 is not reactable, but I also said that there is an exception to that. This exception is obviously not pro level players, since, as we've seen, Anakin eats those, Ni, Atif, Arslan and Lohai all eat down back 4s all day, so obviously they are not the exception. Now, the actual exception to down back 4 being unreactable are actually just geniuses. People who, in my opinion, have just been gifted with egregiously quick reaction times, right? Or reaction speeds, like 1 in 10,000 like type of talent or more, right? And these are not sponsored players. They don't play Tekken for money. They play Tekken as a hobby and they do it for fun. And if you want names, I can kinda give them to you. Like, in my experience, in my very limited Tekken experience, there's only like 3 people that I can think of on the EU servers who like qualify for this kind of talent in my opinion, and I believe they all stream on Twitch, so you can check them out if you want to. There's Risky Luck, Claudio main, there's Yuya, Victor and Jin player, and finally there's Warning I Spam, the Nina main. Now I have a theory, and bear with me on this one. I believe that NovaSeiken does indeed have that 1 in a bajillion gajillion level of reaction speed, and he just doesn't realize it, you know? And so he keeps trying to convince people that his subjective reality, his subjective experience is objective. Everyone like should do what he is able to do. Then again, this is a theory, and I can't make sure of this. The only way for me to test this is to play against him, but given that he's from Latin America, I believe, and I'm from North Africa, I doubt any of us would be able to react to anything on a 3-bar 300 ms connection. So, you know, food for thought. I know that I could be wrong, or maybe there's something that I am failing to consider. Let's end this part with a big question mark, because these are just theories and hypotheses and whatever. I also said that you could call down back for reactable if you stretch the definition of the word reactable, and this is what I mean by it. If I were to ballpark the block rate on down 4, not down back 4, but down 4, in these tournament sets, it would be something like 5% more or less, which is less than down back 4's 15%. So you could argue that the 10% difference between these two lows is due to reactions, Twitch reactions to be precise. The defender is reacting to the slightest change in the opponent's character's animations and they block them, which you could kinda describe that as reactable. But the reason I don't think he means it that way is because in his clips he is blocking down back 4 every time, leading me to believe that he means reactable as in just straight up you should block it almost every time, if not every time. And this just isn't the case if you look at the numbers. So I don't think he means reactable in the way that I described in the way of Twitch reactions, but rather just straight up reactable like other lows, which I don't think it is. Another point that I didn't delve deeper into is the wave dash mix-up actually. I said that the block rate of that mix-up is 46%, and that the closer that percent is to 50%, the more indicative it is that it is a true 50-50, since the players are treating it as like they're ducking half of the time and they are standing half of the time, right? The latter part of that statement is actually a lie. I know this is going to sound impractical to use in a real match and just straight up gibberish like in certain parts, but if you calculate the zero-sum game mixed strategy Nash equilibrium on Jin's wave dash mix-up, you would end up with a probability distribution of roughly 59% for like the forward 4-3 and 41% for CD4 or hell sweep. And the dual solution to that, if you consider it a fucking linear program like problem, would be 82% and 18% for stand guard and low block respectively for the defender, right? And I made sure of the math, since both these answers yield a payout of 27 points of damage, like statistically every time you apply a 50-50 with Jin. So if I'm being honest, like 100% honest, even if the block rate were higher than 50%, I would have argued that from a mathematical standpoint, it should still be considered a mix-up, a 50-50 mix-up, but thankfully we didn't even need to go that far, since the abysmally low block rate of 46% tells us that the players themselves, the pros, treat it as a 50-50 mix-up, an ambiguous mix-up that you cannot react to in any way, shape or form. And finally, this is not really about Tekken, so you can click off the video if you value your time. But if you somehow like my content but dislike NovaSeiken for some reason, don't just go to his comment section and flame him for these takes if you do not agree with them just like I do, because I genuinely think he believes in what he has to say. Before I made this video, I wrote in a comment that I wanted to respond to his video, right? I wrote it in a comment to gauge his confidence level in his opinions and what he has to say, and to know if he's putting up a front which I would know if he ignored the comments, right? But he answered within like 5 minutes of me dropping the comments. Not even, it was something like 2 or 3 minutes, saying something like, go ahead, do your thing. He didn't like ignore the comments or give some lame-ass excuse like, I don't know, like, oh no, you're just cloud chasing, or oh no, I talked about this topic too much, I won't discuss the reactability of Jin's lows, so I'll just ignore your response, or I won't react to it whatsoever. Which, like, even if he did, even if he gave some excuse, I would have made this video either way. But the fact that he didn't avoid confrontation about his ideas tells me that he is not lying. He believes in what he says, which believe me, if like I knew he was like he was not arguing in good faith, I would be the first guy to shit on him for downplaying Jin on purpose, even though he doesn't believe in what he says. But no, the guy is genuinely arguing in good faith, and I cannot agree to making fun of anyone who argues in good faith. So again, really, I mean it. If you somehow dislike my like my content but dislike him for some reason, don't just go on his channel and do something stupid, because the moment you start attacking the person and not the ideas, you automatically lose the debate, in my opinion. That's how I see it, for sure. And like, come on, like, personally, I don't think anyone who likes fucking Crisis Core and Peace Walker of all games can like argue in bad faith. Like, come on, these are goated games right there. Like, you can't hate the guy. And who knows, he might have rebuttals against the point that I've made in this video. I'll keep you guys posted on those. But also, I genuinely believe it's very difficult to argue about like the numbers and the things I said about the numbers in this video, but I'll keep you guys posted on that, right? Anyway, that's about it. Like the video and subscribe for more of this type of content. And yeah, this has been Magician. Take care and have a good one.